Nashville has always been a town of glittering lights and guarded secrets, a city where loyalty is currency. And whispers move faster than the wind that carries the sound of guitars down Broadway. For years, it has prided itself on being both church and circus, equal parts holiness and heartbreak. Yet, even by Music City standards, what was about to unfold would shake its core like never before. At the center of this storm stood two names that couldn't have been more different: Maggie Baugh, the rising star once hailed as the next big thing in country, and Keith Urban, the seasoned superstar whose name was synonymous with prestige, harmony, and a picture-perfect marriage to Hollywood's golden icon, Nicole Kidman. Their reputations represented two poles of the same dream, one just beginning, one fully realized. In early 2023, the Nashville scene was humming with optimism. Maggie, a Florida-born singer-songwriter with fire in her voice and sincerity in her lyrics, had just signed with a major label linked to several of Keith's industry partners. Urban, already a legend, had taken an interest in mentoring younger talents, a move praised as his way of giving back. It was the kind of arrangement that seemed wholesome on paper and dangerous in rumor. Their connection began with studio sessions, late nights, quiet instruments, whispered harmonies. Keith saw something of himself in her, one producer would later claim, but others recalled the subtle discomfort that followed whenever the two appeared in the same room. At the CMA Awards, the pair performed a duet that fans initially saw as charming, even electric. Months later, the same performance would be replayed frame by frame, with online commenters pointing to the lingering eye contact, the unrehearsed chemistry, and Nicole's small, telling retreat from the stage as Keith and Maggie sang. For years, Keith and Nicole had embodied the fairy tale, the serene, elegant couple whose grace stood above the chaos of Hollywood. But those who worked close to them had begun to sense a quiet chill. Their smiles at events seemed forced, their physical distance noticeable. Rumors began, as they always do in Nashville, with a laugh over whiskey. Something's off with those two. By the time gossip blogs caught wind, the whispers had solidified into suspicion. Maggie, meanwhile, was undergoing her own transformation. The once wide-eyed newcomer became less visible at social events, less radiant on red carpets. Her Instagram, once full of cheerful posts and upbeat captions, began to darken. One late-night live stream showed her tearful, saying she was done protecting people who lied to me. No names were mentioned, but the tone carried weight, the heartbreak of someone entangled in a power dynamic she could no longer manage. To the public, it was still nothing more than speculation, the harmless blending of mentorship and admiration. To insiders, it was the ticking of a clock counting down to detonation. Behind the scenes, pressure built quietly. Label executives whispered that something personal had derailed a promising promotional campaign. Keith's publicist tightened appearances. Nicole's team declined interviews about her marriage. Nashville's rumor mills were running red hot, but nothing concrete had surfaced yet. Only fragments, late studio nights, blurred selfies, and Maggie's sudden emotional distance painted the outline of a story that no one dared say aloud. And then came the night that changed everything. Maggie's inner circle began to receive frantic messages. She was making a decision, they said, one that would alter every career involved. As the city slept, she prepared to go public, to break the silence that had protected an industry giant. The next morning, headlines across the country would echo one question that seemed unthinkable just hours before. What if Nashville's most respected man wasn't who he seemed? The stage was set, the microphones charged, and the cost of truth, still unimaginable, was about to come due. The morning Maggie Baugh broke her silence, Nashville's calm veneer cracked. At first, it came as a whisper, a few speculative tweets from fan accounts noting a cryptic caption she'd posted, "You can't hide forever." Within hours, whispers turned to wildfire. Maggie, who had always spoken softly and avoided drama, suddenly became the name on everyone's lips. Her claim, shocking in both tone and timing, sent shockwaves through the industry. She alleged that the father of her unborn child was none other than Keith Urban, the global superstar. The man married to Nicole Kidman, and the face of what Nashville loved to call class and credibility. It was as if the entire country music world had been struck by lightning. At first, Fans refused to believe it. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others an act of desperation from a rising star trying to leapfrog into relevance. But the more they denied it, the more the pieces began to fit. Industry insiders leaked stories of private studio sessions that ran long into the night. Maggie's team confirmed she had been working closely with Urban's producers. Photos surfaced of Maggie wearing Keith's signature tour hoodie, the same one he'd been photographed in days earlier. The timing was merciless. Nicole and Keith had just made a red carpet appearance at a charity gala. Smiling for cameras, their hands intertwined, yet the photos told a different story. Her grip seemed forced, her gaze unfocused. Commenters online described her expression as frozen composure. By the next morning, that composure would shatter. Back in Nashville, Maggie's label scrambled. Executives held emergency meetings as reporters camped outside the studio gates. The PR departments of 2 record labels and 1 movie agency were suddenly entangled in the same scandal. Meanwhile, Maggie herself stayed offline. Her team issued only a single, ominous statement. Maggie is focusing on her health and her truth. The story had all the ingredients of a cultural earthquake: fame, betrayal, pregnancy, and the collision between power and vulnerability. The city that prided itself on God and guitars had birthed a modern tragedy. And yet, it was only the beginning. Somewhere on Reddit, behind a wall of anonymity, a user would soon post the evidence that turned gossip into proof, the moment the story crossed the line from rumor to undeniable reality. It began, as modern disasters often do, with a thread on an anonymous Reddit forum titled, "Country Music Secrets They Don't Want You to Know." A PDF appeared, grainy, low resolution, yet explosive in implication. The document bore 2 initials, Q and MB. Beneath them, a single line that would detonate careers. Probability of paternity, 99.3%. The world stopped for a beat. Then, as though the internet itself had taken a breath, the explosion came. Screenshots of the document flooded Twitter. Then Instagram. Then YouTube. By noon, it was everywhere. Influencers debated authenticity. Conspiracy channels dissected the font, the watermark, the lab name. Keith Urban's PR team declined comment. Maggie's team didn't deny it, and that silence, more than any confirmation, spoke volumes. The public interpreted it as proof. Nicole Kidman, meanwhile, was spotted in Los Angeles leaving a yoga studio, visibly pale. Her wedding ring absent. Within hours, paparazzi shots of her flooded tabloids with captions like, "The ring is gone," and "Heartbreak in Hollywood." On social media, chaos reigned. Some fans hurled abuse at Maggie, calling her a homewrecker. Others defended her, labeling her a victim of celebrity hypocrisy. Memes mocked Keith's "peace over noise" Instagram caption, twisting it into "noise over peace." Country radio hosts debated morality while gossip pages counted how many celebrities unfollowed Urban. The internet had turned courtroom, jury, and executioner all at once. Within 48 hours, the story had transcended music. It had become a referendum on power dynamics, gender, and fame. For Nashville insiders, it was also an existential crisis. "This doesn't happen here," one producer told Rolling Stone. "We handle things quietly. This was supposed to stay buried. But the new media world doesn't bury secrets, it monetizes them." And in the eye of that digital storm sat 3 lives: Maggie's, Keith's, and Nicole's, unraveling in real time, pixel by pixel. In Beverly Hills, the image of marital perfection began to fracture. Nicole Kidman, the serene, porcelain-faced actress whose life seemed untouchable, was now being photographed outside her mansion looking dazed, clutching a cup of coffee like a lifeline. She had always been the embodiment of grace under pressure. But this scandal was personal. This was not a role she could perform. Her Instagram post, a minimalist black and white photo of a broken glass heart, appeared without caption. It needed none. Fans flooded the comments with messages of solidarity: "Stay strong. Nicole, you deserve better." The silence around her spoke more than words ever could. Keith Urban, on the other hand, chose denial through serenity. He uploaded a photo of himself playing guitar under soft studio lights with the caption, "Peace over noise." It was meant to project calm, perhaps even transcendence. but in a world hungry for accountability. It read as arrogance. Comments poured in accusing him of emotional cowardice. "Peace is easy," one fan wrote, "when your noise destroyed someone else's peace." Behind the scenes, crisis management firms were deployed. Urban's label cut off press access, while his management worked overtime to suppress footage and scrub speculation. But by now, the story had grown too big for containment. Every time the publicists tried to redirect attention, a new leak appeared. Nicole's friends described her as heartbroken but composed. A family source told People that she had moved temporarily out of their Nashville home, for clarity and space. Yet the heartbreak was visible, in every paparazzi shot, every evasive smile. What made the scandal so devastating wasn't just infidelity, it was the collapse of a symbol. For nearly 2 decades, Keith and Nicole represented stability, proof that fame and decency could coexist. Their fall felt personal, as if an ideal had been betrayed. And for the millions watching, it wasn't simply about gossip anymore. It was about trust, illusion, and how even the most golden love stories can be undone by human weakness. The illusion of doubt shattered when TMZ entered the fray. Known for its brutal efficiency, the outlet published what it called verified hospital records from a private Tennessee clinic, confirming, with chilling precision, the 99.3% paternity result. For days, the entertainment industry scrambled. Publicists who once booked interviews now fielded crisis calls. Nashville's executives huddled behind closed doors. The once wholesome world of country music was facing its most scandalous moment since the Dixie Chicks' political meltdown. Screenshots soon followed, shared by Maggie's inner circle. They depicted alleged text exchanges from Keith. "You know I can't leave my family. You mean a lot to me. But this can't go public. I'll take care of everything. Just trust me." The messages, raw and unfiltered, broke the dam of denial. Fans who had mocked Maggie now flooded her comments with apologies. Hashtags like #BelieveMaggie began trending. Journalists dissected every development, while talk shows debated moral accountability in the entertainment industry. Was Maggie a victim or a manipulator? Was Keith a lost soul or a fraud? The turning point came when Maggie's former PR representative released a statement confirming that the Reddit DNA file matched the clinic's legitimate format. The last defense crumbled. The music industry's Armageddon, as one outlet dubbed it, had arrived. After days of silence, Keith Urban finally appeared live on Instagram. His hands shook visibly. His voice cracked as he began. "There's a lot of love. A lot of mistakes. And a lot of lessons in life. Sometimes lines get blurred." He paused, eyes darting away from the camera. "Lines get blurred." Then, abruptly, he ended the stream. That short, trembling sentence did more damage than any headline could. It was not an admission, but it was enough. The internet interpreted it as confession through exhaustion. 24 hours later, the definitive voice of the scandal spoke, Maggie Baugh. Her Instagram Live drew over 1 million viewers. Makeup-free, her voice trembling, she declared, "This isn't a scandal. This is a life." She held up an ultrasound photo. "I was promised support. I was promised honesty. I got silence." The visual was devastating. Authenticity had triumphed over celebrity control. Her tears felt real, her pain unpolished. Commentators from both liberal and conservative media agreed. The balance had shifted. Sympathy now belonged to Maggie. Within a day, public pressure became unbearable. Keith's management issued an official statement. "I made mistakes that I deeply regret. I let emotions and circumstances guide me where integrity should have led. I am taking full responsibility for my actions." It was an apology wrapped in corporate caution, but the implication was unmistakable. The fallout was immediate, brutal, and far-reaching. Nicole Kidman released no public statement, but insiders confirmed her legal team was preparing divorce filings citing emotional betrayal and irreparable damage. She was seen attending events alone, her poise intact but her warmth gone. Maggie, meanwhile, turned down multiple media offers. She refused to monetize her pain. Instead, she filed for official paternity acknowledgement in Tennessee, signaling she sought recognition, not revenge. For the public, this silence spoke of dignity. Keith Urban withdrew from public life entirely. Reports claimed he checked into a private retreat in Montana, not for addiction, but for emotional rehabilitation. His concert dates were postponed indefinitely. Sponsors quietly terminated contracts. Within Nashville's inner circles, executives whispered of an ethics reckoning. Country music, long known for its wholesome storytelling, had been forced to confront its hypocrisy. How could an industry built on songs about loyalty, faith, and family reconcile with a scandal that felt biblical in its moral collapse? Once again, Nashville's streets hummed with whispers, but this time, they weren't about who slept with whom. They were about survival, forgiveness, and whether redemption could exist in the era of total exposure. In the final chapter of the saga, noise gave way to silence. TMZ released footage of Keith Urban arriving quietly at a private hospital. Clutching a pink gift bag, his face drawn, older, stripped of glamour. Days later, Maggie posted a black and white photo of a newborn's hand. There were no captions, only an anonymous comment appeared beneath the post. "I'll always be here. K." That single letter reignited every debate, every emotion, every wound, yet for many, it was also closure, an acknowledgement. At last, that beneath fame and failure lay something profoundly human. Public opinion shifted once more, but not toward forgiveness, toward understanding. The viral phrase that captured the world's verdict said it all. Maggie didn't ruin Keith. Keith ruined Keith. In the end, the scandal became more than a tabloid story. It was a mirror reflecting the fragile intersection of power, love, and consequence. It reminded millions that celebrity does not exempt one from truth, it amplifies it. For Nicole, silence became strength. For Maggie, motherhood became redemption. For Keith, the music stopped, replaced by the echo of a single irreversible choice. And for Nashville, the city built on secrets and songs. The melody that once celebrated love now carried a new refrain. Even legends can fall, and when they do, the world watches, in real time.